Chapter 3. The Forgotten. Jenna came to with a noise low and mean, like a growl without a mouth to make it. It vibrated behind her eyes and nestled in her bones, and for a moment she wasn't sure if it was something real or just the sound of her own blood screaming in her ears. Her eyes fluttered open and squinted against the flicker of a bare bulb hanging from a wire, swinging gently like it had just been disturbed. Light and shadow rolled across the walls, warping the space into something that felt too close, too curved, like the room was holding its breath. Her head ached. Bad. There was dried blood at her hairline, sharp and crusted, and her arms shook as she pushed herself upright. The wall she leaned against was cold and damp. Beneath her fingers, the wallpaper peeled like skin left too long in the bath. She breathed in, slow and shallow. The air tasted old, heavy with rot and copper, like someone had locked this place up decades ago and forgot it ever existed. But the thing was, it didn't feel abandoned. Not exactly. It felt patient. She blinked again, let her vision adjust. The room was square, maybe 12 feet by 12, but there was no symmetry to it. The ceiling sagged in one corner like it had been punched by time. The walls were a mess of peeling floral wallpaper and dark blotches of damp. There were no windows, no doors, just her. One of them groaned. To her right, a stocky man with short, torn, salt and pepper hair sat slouched against the wall, rubbing at his temples like someone nursing a hangover that went deeper than drink. His shirt was halfway unbuttoned, sweat slicking his chest despite the cold. He had the look of someone who didn't lose often and didn't like it when he did. On the far wall, a younger guy, maybe mid-20s, was curled in on himself, shaking like a leaf, pale, eyes too wide. He hadn't made a sound, but Jenna could see the panic rising in him like floodwater behind a failing dam. Jenna didn't speak. Not yet. She watched them like you'd watch a bear and a bird wake up beside you in a locked cage, because that's what it felt like. A cage, not a room. The older guy groaned again, louder this time. "What the hell?" He sat up straighter, eyes scanning the room. When they landed on her, his brow furrowed. Then he looked at the other kid. Confusion gave way to irritation, fast. "Where are we?" he asked, voice rough and cracking. The kid didn't answer. He just hugged his knees tighter and started rocking slightly, like he could outpace the dread chewing at his insides. Jenna finally spoke. "I don't know." Her voice sounded foreign in the stale air. Flat. Final. She wasn't going to play the game. Not yet. Not until she knew the rules. The kid finally looked up, eyes like saucers. "What is this?" His voice cracked halfway through the sentence, thin and high like a balloon about to pop. Jenna just stared at him. She didn't say "I don't know" again because it was too obvious and too useless. And saying it twice would mean she believed someone might answer. "Some kind of joke," the kid said. He laughed, but it was a nervous tick, brittle and false, like he was trying to fake out his own brain. The older man was on his feet now, looking for seams in the walls. His hands brushed across the wallpaper, tested the corners, pressed where a door should have been. His breath came short and fast. "There's got to be a way out. This is bullshit." "No doors," Jenna said, still seated. "No windows. We're sealed in." "That's impossible," he snapped, eyes narrowing on her. "Nobody builds a room like this." "Someone did." He didn't like that answer. He moved to the next wall and pounded his fist against it. The sound was dull, thick, like hitting the inside of a coffin. "I'm not playing this game," he muttered. Jenna turned her head. She was trying not to look at the mirror, but she did anyway. It hung crooked on the wall beside her, old, cracked, the silvering flaked along the edges. Her reflection stared back in fractured shards, each piece catching a different version of her face. Her eyes, her mouth, her pain, and then another face. Just for a second, in the largest shard of glass, behind her reflection, a girl's face stared back, pale, hollow-eyed, bruised. Her little sister, Lily. Jenna sucked in a breath, froze, but the face vanished the moment her eyes fully focused, gone. Just the warped distortion of her own face now. She clenched her jaw and turned away. It didn't matter if the others saw it. It wasn't for them. That was the thing about guilt. It always knows where to find you, even when you don't want to be found. The older guy had started pacing. "This doesn't make any damn sense," he said, fists balled. "Someone brought us here. Why? What the hell do they want?" The younger man whimpered. He looked like he wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. Jenna leaned her head back against the wall, eyes closed now. "We're not here for nothing," she said quietly. "We're here because of something." "What?" the man spat. She didn't answer, because she wasn't sure yet, but in her bones she could feel it. This room wasn't a joke. It wasn't a prank or some twisted game show audition. It was a verdict waiting to be read aloud. And whatever brought them here, it wasn't done. Not even close. It started with a laugh, small, distant, a sound that didn't belong. Not in that room, not in that place, not here. Marcus froze mid-step. He'd been pacing like a caged animal, muttering half-formed curses under his breath, his hands flexing open and closed like he was trying to squeeze the walls into giving him answers. But when he heard that sound, he stopped cold, like someone had yanked the cord inside him. "What the hell was that?" he said. Jenna was still sitting against the wall. Eli was hunched nearby, rocking slightly, eyes unfocused. "Hear what?" she asked, her voice low, careful. Marcus turned toward them. His face had lost a shade of color, like something had peeled a layer off him. "I heard a laugh. A kid. It sounded like a little girl." Jenna's stomach tightened. Eli stopped rocking. "There's no one here but us," Jenna said, but it felt like she was just testing the shape of the words in her mouth. Even she didn't believe them. Marcus shook his head. No, I heard it. Right." He paused, pointing to the corner where the ceiling sagged and the light bulb cast a warped crescent of shadow across the floor. It came from there. Jenna looked, even though she didn't want to. The corner was empty, just cracked walls and black mold blooming like bruises. "That's not possible," Eli whispered. His voice cracked on the last word, like he was realizing just how little that word meant in a place like this. Jenna stood slowly. The floor was cold beneath her bare feet, damp enough that her skin stuck to it slightly when she moved. The silence had returned, but it didn't feel like peace. It felt like something had paused, listened, and now it was waiting. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, pacing again, but less steady now. "It wasn't in my head," he muttered. "It wasn't. I heard it." "I believe you," Jenna said. He looked at her, skeptical. "You do?" She nodded once. "I saw someone earlier, in the mirror, my sister." Marcus let out a short, bitter laugh. "Jesus Christ, this place is in our heads." Eli didn't say anything. He'd gotten up and moved toward the far wall, where the wallpaper peeled like curling skin. He was staring at something, frozen, his breath coming shallow and sharp. "Hey," Jenna said, stepping toward him. "You all right?" He didn't answer, just reached out and touched the wall, his fingers brushing the edge of the loose paper. It flaked under his touch, crumbling slightly. Then he peeled it back. Jenna saw it too, once enough had been uncovered. Carved into the wall beneath, jagged and raw like someone had used a nail or a piece of broken glass, was a single word: traitor. The letters were dark, stained, old maybe, or fresh. It was impossible to tell in the sick yellow light. Eli stepped back like he'd been struck. His lips moved, but no sound came out. He looked like someone had just uncovered a part of him he'd tried to bury under 1,000 quiet mornings. Jenna moved closer. She could see the way the letters were carved with erratic pressure, some deep, others shallow, like the writer couldn't decide whether to scream or whisper. "What the fuck is this place?" Marcus said. He'd come closer too, but kept a healthy distance. "Some kind of psycho's funhouse?" Jenna didn't answer right away. She reached out, touched the edge of one of the letters. The wood felt warped and splintered. "I think it's something worse," she said. "Worse?" Marcus snapped. "Worse than being kidnapped and thrown in a locked box?" "This isn't just a box," she said, her eyes still on the word. "It's a confession booth." Eli let out a sound, half whimper, half breath. His eyes were glassy. Jenna didn't know him, not really, but she saw something familiar in the way he was breaking. The guilt that didn't want to be seen but couldn't help rising to the surface when the silence got too loud. "You think that word's for me?" he asked, barely above a whisper. Nobody answered, but the silence sure as hell did. Marcus shifted. "Bullshit. That's just some crap someone left behind. Has nothing to do with us." Jenna turned to him. "Then why does it feel like it does?" "Because we're losing it," he barked. "That's what happens in places like this. Sensory deprivation, claustrophobia, fear, it all adds up. We're just seeing things, hearing things." "Are we?" Jenna asked softly. "Or is something seeing us?" Marcus opened his mouth, closed it again. The low hum in the room buzzed louder for a moment. like the light above had caught wind of the conversation and wanted its presence felt. It didn't flicker. It vibrated, like a nerve twitch just behind the eye. Jenna stepped back from the wall, folded her arms. I think we were brought here for a reason, and I don't think it's random. Why you? Marcus asked, like he was challenging her to say something self-incriminating. I don't know, she said, though it didn't feel like the whole truth. But that word didn't get carved there for fun. She turned to Eli, who was trembling now. You recognize it? His lips parted, but he just shook his head. No, I don't know. But he did know. She could see it. Not the full shape of it, maybe, but the edge of something sharp that had lived in him for a long time. Jenna stepped away from them, giving herself some distance from the word, from the noise in her own head. She looked around the room again, slow this time. There were still no seams, no hinges, no vents, just four walls, one flickering bulb, and the kind of silence that feels personal. She reached the mirror again, let her eyes settle on her broken reflection. The face that stared back was hers, but not entirely. Her skin looked drawn, older, like the weight of the room was already working its fingers into her bones. She looked past herself. No Lily this time. But the space behind her still felt occupied. Not haunted, not quite. More like monitored. Jenna turned to face the others. Marcus was still pacing, trying to wear a groove into the floor. Eli stood near the wall like the word had pinned him there. Someone or something put us here, she said, and it wants something from us. Confessions, regrets. I don't know, but it's not done yet. And what happens when it is done? Marcus asked, voice clipped. Jenna glanced at the word on the wall one last time. I don't think we're going to like the answer. There's something about a ringing phone that doesn't belong in silence. It's like a scream with structure. Familiar, sure, but jarring when there's no reason it should exist. That's how it began. After the laughter, after the word traitor clawed its way into their heads. After the room had gone quiet again, too quiet, like it had swallowed its breath and was waiting to exhale. Jenna heard it first, though she didn't react. Just tilted her head slightly, like a dog catching some frequency on the wind. One sharp ring, metallic, shrill, and completely out of place. She thought maybe her brain was playing tricks. But then it came again. Ring. Marcus jolted. His whole body twitched like something touched his spine. Tell me you heard that. Eli didn't speak. He just turned to face the center of the room. There, where there'd been nothing before, not 5 minutes ago, sat a rusted rotary phone on a table that hadn't existed. The kind of thing you'd find in your grandmother's attic, covered in dust, cords tangled like veins ripped from a corpse. Black receiver. Frayed cord. Dial long, worn smooth. Ring. The sound wasn't loud, not exactly, but it filled the room in a way that felt wrong, like it had always been there, waiting beneath the noise, and only just now decided to reveal itself. Jenna took a slow step forward, careful, like the floor might give out beneath her. Marcus got there first. Wait, Jenna said, but it was instinct, not command. Marcus didn't listen. He never listened. He stood over the phone, chest heaving, like the thing had just dared him to pick it up. What is this? He muttered. How the hell? Ring. He reached out, fingers hovering over the receiver. Hesitating. Some part of him still had sense enough to be scared. Jenna's voice came quiet from across the room. Don't. Marcus looked at her, something flickering in his eyes. But then he grabbed the receiver and brought it to his ear. Silence. Then his breath caught. Jenna saw it happen in his face, the shift, the way the color drained and something ancient crept into his expression. His mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. What? Eli asked. What is it? Marcus didn't answer. His eyes darted around the room, but he wasn't seeing it. He was seeing something else, somewhere else. His voice, when it finally came, was soft, distant. Sarah? Jenna stiffened. Not the name, the way he said it, like someone whispering at a grave, hoping the dead might whisper back. No, Marcus said into the receiver, barely more than breath. No, you're not. This isn't. His grip tightened. His knuckles went white. He turned his back on them, like he couldn't stand being seen. Jenna stepped closer. What's she saying? He shook his head. You don't understand. The hum in the ceiling intensified, a low vibration now, like something big had started to move behind the walls. The shadows stretched a little longer, the corners a little darker. Jenna watched him, read the panic in the rigid way he held his spine. Who was Sarah? Marcus didn't speak. His lips were moving, but the words were for the phone, not for them. A private apology, or maybe a plea. Then softly, I didn't know you'd actually do it. Jenna exhaled slow. There it was, the crack in the armor. I just wanted you to know how it felt. The phone clicked. Marcus froze, still clutching the receiver. The silence that followed was the kind that lives under your skin. Thick. Personal. He lowered the handset slowly, let it dangle by the cord, swaying gently. He turned around. His face was pale, empty in a way that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with remorse. She's dead, he said, like it was news to anyone but him. I didn't think she'd actually do it. He stopped, swallowed, looked at Jenna like maybe she'd say something that would make it make sense, but she just watched him. What did you do? Eli asked, voice small. Marcus didn't answer. Jenna spoke for him. He broke her. Shut up, Marcus snapped, but it had no teeth. You don't know anything. I know a voice from the grave when I hear one, Jenna said, stepping closer. I know guilt when it crawls out of a man's mouth. The bulb above them flickered once. Not the playful kind of flicker. Not the warning kind either. The kind that says, I see you. Jenna looked up at it, then back to Marcus. That's what this room wants, isn't it? What are you talking about? It's not just trapping us, she said. It's drawing us out, picking at the edges, making us bleed. Bullshit, Marcus muttered, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. It's a trick. Someone's screwing with us. Then why was it her voice on the line? He didn't answer. Eli was still trembling, curled in on himself near the far wall. I want to go home, he whispered, and the way he said it made Jenna's chest ache, because there was no home anymore. Not once this room had your scent. Marcus backed away from the table. The phone still dangled, silent now, but Jenna knew it would ring again. Not for Marcus, for someone else. The hum deepened. The bulb swayed slightly, though no one had touched it. A breeze that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. And somewhere in the walls, low, barely there, was breathing. The room had taken its first sip. It wanted more. The room didn't settle after the phone went quiet. If anything, it got hungrier. It breathed now. You could feel it, walls shifting ever so slightly inward, the air growing thick like it was exhaling straight into your lungs. The light overhead didn't flicker so much as it watched, casting long, accusatory shadows that never quite lined up right. Jenna stayed by the table, where the phone dangled limp and silent, the cord swinging in lazy arcs like it was counting down to something. She looked at Marcus. His hands were fists again, but not from rage this time. This was a man trying to hold himself together through sheer will, knuckles white like bone pushing to escape. You said her name, she said. Marcus didn't look up. I don't want to talk about it. You already did. I didn't mean to. You said you wanted her to know what it felt like, and then you said you didn't think she'd actually do it. He looked at her then, face pulled tight like a rubber band stretched to its last breath. You don't get it. I don't need to, Jenna said, her voice even. But this place does, and it's not going to let you go until you say it. Marcus shook his head. Screw this. She's dead, Jenna said. Because of you, he snapped then, his voice loud and raw. I didn't kill her. No, she said. You just stripped her down piece by piece until she didn't recognize herself, and then you stood back and watched. Something in the room shifted at that. A pulse, not visible but felt. The floor beneath them trembled like the house had a heartbeat and they just pressed a stethoscope to the walls. Eli made a sound from the corner, a short, choking inhale. He'd sunk down again, hugging his knees, rocking like he could ride out a storm that hadn't peaked yet. Marcus backed away, mouth twitching with words that never came. Jenna turned to Eli. What about you? He shook his head. Because that word on the wall, traitor, that wasn't for Marcus. Eli looked up, eyes rimmed red. Please don't. You know it. You've known it since you saw it. He curled tighter. I didn't mean for it to happen. But it did. His voice broke. I just wanted them to leave me alone. Jenna knelt beside him, not soft, not harsh, just there. Tell me. Eli swallowed. Greg, he was my best friend since we were kids, but in high school, they started messing with him. Jokes, shoves, stupid stuff at first. Then worse. Jenna didn't speak. I didn't stop them, Eli said. I joined in. The confession hung in the air like a fog, thick, bitter. I thought if I laughed too, they'd leave me alone. And they did. They stopped calling me names. They picked on him instead. He paused, eyes glassy. I told myself it was survival. The light buzzed, deep and angry. Then one day, Eli continued, he just didn't come back to school. I found out from his sister. He hung himself in their garage. Jenna felt something cold slide down her spine. Not the air, something else. I didn't go to the funeral, Eli whispered. I couldn't. You betrayed him, Jenna said. Not cruel, just the truth. He nodded, tears sliding down his face. I told him I'd always have his back. The hum in the ceiling grew sharper, more defined. The light above them flared once, then dimmed again. The room exhaled, and the temperature dropped. It was waiting. Jenna stood up slowly. The room knows. It's why you're here. I didn't want him to die, Eli said. I just didn't want to be next. Marcus let out a shaky breath. Jesus, the water around their feet, ankle deep and cold like grave water, began to ripple. Jenna turned in place, scanning the walls. Do you feel that? Eli's eyes widened. No, please. The noose dropped from the ceiling. No warning, no sound, just there. Like it had always been hiding just above their heads, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. It hung low, swaying gently, the rope frayed and stained, its knot perfect and patient. Eli backed away, hands raised like it might lunge at him. No, he whispered. Please, I said it, I told you the truth. But the noose didn't care. Neither did the room. Run! Marcus shouted, but where? There were no doors, no escape, just four walls and one hungry, sentient silence. The whispers came next. Dozens of voices layered together, impossible to isolate. Words like blades. Traitor! 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 Eli screamed, his back hitting the far wall. And then, without a single hand to guide it, the noose snapped forward. It wrapped around his throat mid-sob, tightened, lifted. Jenna lunged, but stopped herself. There was no ladder to kick, no trapdoor, just force, invisible, absolute. Eli kicked and clawed, fingers digging at the rope, eyes wide with sheer animal panic. His body twisted, boots scraping uselessly against the wall. Marcus turned away, retching into the corner. Jenna stared, not cold, not distant, just seeing, because someone had to bear witness. Someone had to acknowledge it. Eli's legs slowed, then stilled. His face went slack. The rope held him there, swaying gently. The whispers faded. The room grew quiet, satisfied. For a long time, nobody moved. Eli's body hung from the ceiling like a warning, limp, head tilted at a grotesque angle, one shoe missing, his fingers still twitching now and then like some part of him hadn't quite accepted the end. The noose creaked gently, back and forth, its rhythm matching the slow drip of water pooling around their feet. Marcus stood frozen at the far wall, jaw clenched, breath coming in fast, uneven pulls like he was trying not to hyperventilate, or scream, or both. Jenna didn't speak, not yet. She just stood near Eli's body and watched the rope, waiting for it to still. It didn't. It never did. Marcus finally broke the silence. No, this didn't happen. His voice cracked halfway through, thin and trembling in a way that didn't suit him. He backed away from the center of the room, hand dragging down his face. We didn't just watch someone die, he muttered, more to himself than to her. Jenna looked at him, not accusing, just steady. You think you imagined that? She asked, nodding toward Eli. Marcus shook his head violently. I think someone's screwing with us. There's no one else here. That's what they want us to think. Jenna took a step toward him. And what would the end game be? To make you feel bad? Drive you insane? Why? Marcus didn't answer. He was staring at the wall now, eyes wide like he expected it to split open and reveal the whole twisted production. This is fake. A setup. There's cameras somewhere, hidden mics. This is some social experiment. Or, you're not that important, Jenna said. His eyes snapped to hers. She kept going. You think someone went to all this trouble just to make you squirm? No, Marcus, we're here because of what we did. Eli confessed, and the room took him. Marcus's face twisted. And now you think I'm next. I know you are. He stepped toward her, fists clenched. You don't know a goddamn thing about me. I know you answered that phone and said her name like a prayer. I know you said you wanted her to hurt. That doesn't mean I killed her. You broke her down piece by piece, until the only control she had left was how to leave. Marcus turned away, but not fast enough to hide the way his mouth trembled. You didn't love her, Jenna said. You owned her, and when she started slipping away, you punished her for it. He spun back around, face red, fists tight. You don't know what she did to me. I know what you did to her. He lunged, quick, angry. but she didn't move, just stood still, let him get close enough that she could smell the sweat and panic rolling off him in waves. His fists hovered at his sides, but he didn't strike. He couldn't. She cheated on me, Marcus hissed. She lied. She made me feel like I didn't matter. So yeah, I said things, I pushed her. I wanted her to feel the way I felt. Jenna stared at him. And she did. Then she killed herself. The room breathed then, no other word for it. The bulb above them flared, casting shadows that stretched across the walls like claws. The water around their feet rippled, rising just enough to lap against Jenna's ankles. The noose above Eli creaked once, then slowly began to lift. Eli's body ascended like a puppet on an invisible string, vanishing into the darkness overhead. The rope tightened and retracted, disappearing into the ceiling. No hatch, no mechanical arm, just gone. In its place, another noose dropped. This one swayed a little closer to Marcus. No, he said, shaking his head. No, I'm not doing this. The whispers came next, subtle at first. Confess, confess. Marcus covered his ears. Shut up! Jenna didn't move. The room was speaking now. It didn't need her voice anymore. Confess, confess. I didn't mean it, Marcus shouted. I didn't want her dead. I just wanted her to feel it. I wanted her to need me again. The shadows pulsed. The water climbed to mid-calf. I was so tired of being the one left behind, Marcus said, his voice cracking. So I said things. I told her she was worthless. I told her I'd ruin her life if she left. I told her I'd tell everyone what a slut she was. He sank to his knees. I just wanted her to stay. The whispers quieted. The hum in the ceiling faded into a low, purring throb. The noose above him stilled. Jenna exhaled. Not relief. Not quite. Just a breath held too long, finally let go. You told yourself you didn't kill her, she said softly, but you loaded the gun. Marcus didn't answer. He was crying now. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent sobs like something had broken in the middle of him and was leaking out slow. The noose hovered above his head, waiting. Marcus didn't scream when the noose took him. He gasped, a sharp animal sound. That was all. One moment he was on his knees, shaking and sobbing into the dark water that now covered half the floor. The next, the rope descended like judgment itself, quick, precise, silent. It wrapped around his neck and yanked him skyward in a single brutal motion. His body shot upward so fast it smacked the ceiling with a sickening thud. There was a cracking sound. Then silence. Just the sound of water dripping, the hum, the bulb swaying, and Jenna still standing. She didn't look away. She couldn't. Marcus's body hung there, twitching for a few seconds longer, his legs kicking once, twice. Then he went still. His head lolled, face turned toward the wall, mouth slightly open like he was trying to say something even now. Jenna didn't move. Not when the water lapped at her knees. Not when the noose creaked above her, gently, like it was settling into place. Not even when the whispers finally fell silent. It was worse than the noise. Silence in that room was like the pause between lightning and thunder. You didn't know if the strike had passed or if it was just getting started. The air changed again, thicker, heavier. It pressed down like hands on her shoulders, and then she saw it, the chest. It was just there now, in the corner where there had been nothing before. A squat, rusted thing with iron bands and claw feet like it had been dragged out of a shipwreck. She didn't remember seeing it before. She knew it hadn't been there, but now it was, waiting. Jenna stared at it. A knot formed behind her ribs. Not fear, not exactly. Something heavier. The kind of dread that comes when the story stops being about them and starts being about you. She stepped forward. Each movement sent ripples through the water, disturbing the reflection of the hanging bodies above her, Eli limp and boyish, Marcus brutal and heavy. Two shadows dancing on the surface like a warning. She stopped halfway. The room was quiet, no voices, no whispers, no breathing behind the walls, but she could feel it, the presence, the focus. The room was watching her now. Jenna turned her face slightly toward the cracked mirror near the table, the one where she'd first seen Lily. And there she was. A flicker, a blur, but unmistakable. Lily. 8 years old, big dark eyes, bruised arms, that soft look she'd get when she was too tired to cry. Jenna swallowed hard. You're not real, she whispered. The reflection didn't move. You're not real, she said again. But the knot behind her ribs twisted tighter. She remembered the night she left. She remembered the way Lily clung to her, tiny fists buried in Jenna's sweatshirt, whispering, "Take me with you." Jenna had pried her hands off, told her to hide in the closet, that she'd come back for her. Swore it. But she didn't come back. She never did. The chest creaked. Jenna turned. Its lid had opened slightly, just enough to show the darkness inside. Not shadows. Darkness. The kind that moves. She stepped closer, slowly, like someone approaching a sleeping bear. Inside, she saw nothing, and everything. Shapes formed and unformed, faces, places, the back of her father's hand, the crack in the closet door. Lily's small feet curled beneath her dress. Jenna dropped to her knees beside the chest. She didn't cry. She just let it wash over her, like cold water after a long lie. "I should have taken you," she said softly. The room didn't react. No lights flickered. No noose dropped. It was listening. "I knew what he was. I knew what he did to her, and I still left." Her voice shook now, not with fear, but with grief long kept in quarantine. "I saved myself. I told myself it was all I could do, that I'd come back, but I didn't. I got out. I got away, and I never looked back." The chest seemed to breathe, its lid rising a little higher, like lungs inflating. "She was just a kid," Jenna whispered. "She trusted me." A tear slipped down her cheek and fell into the black water below. "I left her." She sat back on her heels. The noose above her creaked gently. "I don't care what this room wants," she said, louder now. "I'm not afraid of it. I'm afraid of me, what I did, what I didn't do." The chest groaned again. The water around her swirled, gentle but deliberate, pulling at her legs. She looked up at the ceiling. "You took them, Eli, Marcus, you judged them." She stood. "Well, here I am." The noose dropped again. Not fast, not sudden, just there, quiet and certain. Jenna didn't run. She just stood beneath it, staring up. The silence was deafening. She felt something move beneath her skin, regret, maybe, or guilt finally finding its voice. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said. "I don't deserve it." She reached up and placed her hand on the rope. The room held its breath. The noose hung above Jenna like a question that already knew the answer. She didn't move at first, just let her fingers rest on the rough coil of rope, feeling the fibers bite into her skin. It wasn't cold like she expected. It was warm, damp, as if it had just been used. And it had. She looked toward the chest again. It had shifted, just slightly, just enough. The lid now yawning wider, and there she was, Lily. Not a flicker, not a reflection, not a memory stitched together by guilt and grief. Her face was in the chest, clear and still, staring up through the black void. Pale skin, hollow eyes, hair damp and tangled across her cheeks. The bruises were the same ones Jenna remembered. Faint yellowing fingerprints on her neck, a blue-black welt under her eye, the kind you pretend not to notice. Jenna's knees buckled and she sank down in front of the chest. "Lily," she whispered, her voice cracking. Lily didn't blink, didn't move, just stared with that impossible stillness, the kind the dead have when they know you're the reason. "I didn't mean to leave you," Jenna said. The chest groaned. Not loud, but low and steady, like a throat clearing before it speaks. "I was scared," she continued, words tumbling out now, broken and half-formed. "He was getting worse. I knew if I didn't go, I wouldn't make it. I didn't know how to get you out, too. I was 16. I just wanted to live." Lily's mouth twitched. Not a smile, nothing warm. "You left me," she said, voice clear and cold and real as breath. "You closed the door and never came back." Jenna's chest tightened. "I told you to hide. I told you I'd come back. But you didn't. I thought maybe someone would help, that Mom would see, that she'd take you away from him once I was gone." Lily didn't blink. She didn't. "I know," Jenna breathed. "I know." The room shifted again. The bulb overhead flared, casting stark, warped shadows across the walls. The floor beneath her rippled. The air thickened until it felt like she was drowning in it. The noose lowered, slow, purposeful. "You didn't love me enough to save me," Lily said. That line cut deeper than the rest. It sank into Jenna's bones and made itself at home. "I did," she whispered. "I do, but I was weak and selfish, and I thought maybe surviving would make up for it. That if I could build a life I could, I don't know, fix something, pretend it didn't happen." The water around her ankles crept higher. "I tried to forget," she said, "but you never left me." The room thrummed like a heartbeat. Lily's face began to dissolve, not vanish, dissolve like ink in water. But the feeling remained. The accusation. The weight. The chest snapped shut. Jenna turned to the noose. She didn't run, didn't plead, just stood, straightened her shoulders, and stepped toward it. "I failed you," she said, "and I'm sorry." The noose stopped just above her head, swaying gently like it was deciding something. I let him destroy you, she continued, and I let the guilt rot me from the inside out because I thought I deserved it. And I do. But I'm done hiding behind silence. I see what I did now. The whispers returned, not angry this time, not chanting, just murmuring, a chorus of the dead maybe, or the forgotten. She reached up and slipped the rope over her head. It was heavier than it looked. The bulb above her buzzed once. I'm sorry, Lily. Her eyes closed, and then everything went black. There was no pain, no moment of violence, no dramatic final snap, just silence, and then nothing. And then the water receded, slowly, like a tide pulled back by the moon. The shadows folded into themselves. The room, once alive with hunger and judgment, grew still. The nooses were gone. So were the bodies. The chest closed and sealed, iron bands drawn tight. The mirror cracked one last time, a fresh split down the center. And the room exhaled. No blood, no screaming, no ghosts clinging to the walls, just silence and waiting. Because this place was never about killing. It was about remembering, about judgment. Jenna, Marcus, Ely, they were gone now. Not erased, not forgiven, absorbed, their sins catalogued, their truths wrung out like water from soaked cloth. The room would rest, for a time, but eventually someone else would wake up here. And when they did, they'd find no door, no window, just four walls and themselves. The room doesn't forget, and it never forgives.